Hello everyone, and welcome to another video by Liminal Spaces. Today I'm going to make a really short video. I just wanted to talk a little bit about a book that I left off from my top 10 horror novels. And that is, of course, the very popular It by Stephen King. I had a hard time choosing between this novel and The Shining for my top 10 horror novels, and I chose The Shining. I didn't want to do one artist twice on that top 10 horror novels. I really wanted to keep it so that each section was a different author, but choosing between these two books was really hard. I read The Shining quite a few years after it came out. This is the first book that I ever was excited for and bought right when it came out, although I did not buy the hardback. I saw this hardback. This is the first edition. I saw this hardback in stores, but I couldn't afford it. We couldn't afford it, so we had to wait for it to come out in Softback, and I remember waiting and waiting for what felt like forever, which was probably a few months, for this to come out in Softback. And I did get the Softback right when it came out, and I devoured it. The Softback version that I have now is not the original one that I had. The original one that I had looked exactly like this, but a Softback. The one that I have now is this British Softback. I chose to have the British one instead of the American one, just because it's really cool looking picture, and the American Softback is just the same cover. And this, of course, will always be the cover that I love the most, just because it's what I remember, that creepy hand coming out of the cellar. The sewer there. It was very creepy cover. So I'm not going to review the book. It's obvious that I love the book. It was a hard choice between choosing this one or The Shining for my first. So it's obvious that I love the book. I'm not going to review the book. Plus, I feel like this is a book that every booktuber talks about at one time. It's really a famous book. Probably on the top of a lot of people's top 10 horror novels. So I think it would be redundant to tell you the plot. I'm sure you've seen the movies. I'm sure most of you have read the book. It's just very much a part of our culture now. But I wanted to talk about a couple of things with it that I felt are really incredible about it, that are maybe unique to me, because I was able to buy it before any films came out, before reading reviews was really a thing. I mean, in my youth it wasn't. I know reviews existed at that time, but I didn't go out and read them. So I literally only had the front cover of this in mind when I bought it. That's all I knew about it. And I want to talk about the opening, and this is something that is moved around a lot in the movie versions. And I think that the order that Stephen King put it in was really powerful. And I think that moving these chapters around can kind of hurt the story and what Stephen King kind of originally expected. Please don't think I'm dissing really hard on these movies. I don't think the movies are as good as the books, but I really enjoyed the movies. I loved the one in the 80s. I found a picture recently that I had drawn of the characters from that original 80s movie or miniseries, and I liked the new ones. The ending was kind of weak, but overall, filming the ending of this book, I think, would be very, very difficult. The ritual of Chud plays such a huge role at the end of this, and I don't know exactly how you would do that in the movie. But anyway, just looking at the beginning, we open with the death of Georgie and the meeting of Pennywise in the sewer. Like I said, when I first started reading this, I had no idea what it was about at all. All I knew was there was a sewer with a really creepy hand coming out of it. Some kind of monster in the sewer. So I was quite surprised when I was reading this. We're introduced to Georgie and his brother, Bill, and Stephen King has the ability to make you love characters, and a lot of people say his prose are bloated, and I can see this. I can see where they're coming from. Uh, I like I said, I started Under the Dome, and I did not finish it. It just dragged for me. And I know a lot of people will say in the comments I should give it another try, and I probably will, because I know a lot of people really loved that book. But back when I was waiting year by year for whatever Stephen King was going to release, these novels almost felt too short to me. I know that's crazy to say now. And there is nobody that can develop characters and make you feel like you've known them your whole life so quickly as Stephen King. And that's true right off the bat in it. So, we all know the story. Georgie meets Pennywise in the sewer and then gets his arm ripped off and dies. At that point in time, I had never heard of the concept of a clown being scary. And a lot of people do connect this book to the beginning of the fear of clowns concept. So when I was reading this, I think I was 10 or 11 when I first read this book. When I was reading this for the first time, I didn't expect a clown to be under there because the cover has this crazy green hand coming out. Did not expect a clown. The clown blew my mind. It was the most unique, odd thing I could think of being down there. It was not a cliche at that point. It was really, truly forward-thinking and the last thing you'd expect in a scary novel. And it was really solid for that. So right after that, he jumps forward in time. We move from Georgie and we jump forward in time to the death of Adrian and Stephen King's take on the horrific crime of killing somebody because you don't agree with their sexual orientation. We basically just get two murders, right? One, a kid in the 50s, the other, an adult in the 80s, and both of them have mention of a clown. So that's all we got. We know that there's a weird, murderous clown that hangs out in sewers and by rivers. And then we move to Stanley Uris and him getting the phone call. This is the part that gets moved around a lot. And I just wanted to take a moment to really look at this opening to a novel. So we have these horrific murders described, and then we open up in the home of Stanley Uris, who is an older gentleman, and his wife, and kind of their unique relationship. And like I said, Stephen King really makes us know these characters. We get to know these characters. And then Stanley gets a phone call and he walks upstairs. We are a close psychic distance to his wife, so he just kind of disappears upstairs. And that was another brilliant thing, to tell the story at this point from the point of view of his wife. Distances us from what's going on, so we're not in Stanley's head. We don't know what the phone call is. And then he just walks up to take the bath, and she finds him later in his bath having committed suicide, and he took his blood while he was bleeding to death and wrote the word "it" on the bathroom wall. And the reason that it's hard for me to have this scene moved around is because when you consider the way it's stacked in the book, the tension that this builds is absolutely incredible, because you do not know the story of the Losers Club. You do not know the Pennywise, the dancing clown, at all. You don't know anything about any of these characters. All you know is that you have two murders described, And then you have what seems like an ordinary couple, and the man gets a phone call, and all we know from the phone call is that somebody says it has come back, and he goes upstairs and kills himself out of fear. This is, I want to say, Lovecraftian in how well it builds tension. He has showed us that the monster in this book is so scary that just the concept of having to go back and dealing with it again makes a grown, happy, successful man, seemingly happy, successful man, walk upstairs and kill himself just so that he doesn't have to go back and deal with this monster again. When you take this opening of the story and put it into a second movie, or into, when you break apart these time jumps from the 50s to the 80s, I feel like it makes everything more organized, but it does a huge disservice to the building of the tension of it. We don't even know who the Losers Club are until right around page 100 in this book. And I think that is incredible, because that 100 pages literally is just saying you're about to see the scariest monster ever. And it makes you feel it. You feel like you're about to see the scariest monster ever. Some may question some of the choices he made for the end of the book. Of course, there's the thing that he put in here that he himself has come out and said, I really wish I wouldn't have put that in that book. I'm not going to get into what it is about. You all know exactly what I'm talking about. I think the book would have been better without that in there. So I don't know. Some may say that it doesn't completely live up to the terror that the tension building of the first 100 pages of this novel give it. I think it absolutely does. I think Pennywise was very scary. I know that the cliche of just believe in yourself and don't be afraid, and that's what defeats the monster, is overdone. But at the time, for me, it was the first time I'd come across it, and I found it very, very powerful, especially as seeing that I was a little bit younger than the kids they were talking about in the book, but I was right around that age. So that really kind of spoke to me, this idea of believe in yourself, don't let fear take over your life. All of it I felt was really good messages, and one of the reasons that I loved this book so much. Anyway, a little convoluted, I'm sorry, not a review, but I just wanted to say that this is an incredible book. You should absolutely read it. And when you read it, it sounds strange, but try to forget everything you know about it if you haven't read it yet, and read it as if you were hearing about this monster for the first time. And that 100 pages, which some have said kind of bloated and drone on, they didn't when you read it and you didn't know what it was about. Those first 100 pages make perfect sense if you imagine not knowing the story you're already going into. They build up unnecessary tension in order for this novel to really work. All right, I just wanted to talk about it a little bit. I appreciate you guys watching. If you liked the video, please give it a like. If you liked what we do, go ahead and subscribe. And if you have any thoughts about it, or if I got anything incorrectly, it's been a bit since I've read this, let me know in the comments. I appreciate it. Thank you guys very much.